Hey, DJ from PTA. Want to go over the trades for June 27th. I'm going to go over the SPY as well as the trades that I placed for the 27th and one of the big winners, one of the big winner plays. So going over the SPY first, today being the 28th. I mean, this was just pretty much my prediction stuff I've been screaming out in the Discord for quite a while. Now that we're still in a recession, we're still in a downtrend. This market is still trending down. No matter which way you look at it, these bounces and things that are happening right now are simply just part of shorts taking profit. So for me, I don't see an end to this right now. I just see that it's bouncing and it's getting steeper and steeper on the bounce. So for today, you know, a lot of people were looking at, man, it gave back all its gains. Yes, we're still in a downtrend. So any reversal or potential pullback is really just shorts taking profit, in my opinion, until I see a structural difference in the stock play, as well as confirmation from leading indicators in the market. Other than that, I mean, we're still in a recession. And then gas still $5 a gallon. Food prices still up. You know, the overall sentiment is that we're slipping further and further into a recession. Things are going to get worse. So don't like to be the bearer of bad news or anything like that, but ultimately that's just how I look at it. Now, taking it all the way back out to multiple months, I mean, our next zone I think will be about 350.62, right there where you see I got the cursor. Maybe there, or maybe here at 326, 325. So I would not be surprised if the market don't circle back or erase those gains and then maybe do a pull up. But once those things are in line, then I can believe that we're in a reversal per se. All right. So the stock I want to go over first. Let's see here. Aerc. Now Aerc is a former runner. When I see stocks that I've played before, those are the ones that kind of stay on my radar the most. It might be something else new, might be something else popping or whatever, but for me, I want to play stuff that I know, staples or things I've made money off of before, because they tend to be a good, you know, rate of return. So right here, the first area that we draw is the 830. So that 830 level, as you can see here, it bounced and then it broke down from that area after a big rejection here on January 13th. The next area would be here, and that would be 1420s. We'll just leave it at 1420. And then the next area would be probably here, where it really broke down from. We're gonna just call that 23 for the sake of easy numbers. That's 23 there. Looking at this would probably be all my key areas in this zone, and then right here as well. Why is this a key area? Because it rejected and took away. It broke down from there and then returned. So the area being about 1230s or 1230 area. Now let's zoom into the most recent time of price action, which will be over the last couple of weeks. You can see that it pretty much respecting for the most part these areas. So when I look at a stock and I say, oh, this stock is breaking or is doing this or that, these are the things that I'm looking for when it comes to a stock being in play. As far as zones, this broke down from here, broke down from there, so on and so forth. This can be a zone because this is where it took off from. So we'll call that $11. And these are all your zones based off of intraday supports and resistance. Okay, so these are all my areas. These are all the critical areas that I would be looking for when it comes to playing this stock on a new day. So the day we're talking about is January 27th. So as I break down this, we're gonna go down to an hour. As you can see that it rejected 11, pulled back up right into the 1420 area. Then it pulled back. So looking at this to make it cleaner, I probably would say this is about 14. Yeah, because it rejected there, a little bit of consolidation there, and then it broke down from there. So 14 was probably that key area off of the daily. As you can see here, rejecting, and it ripped back up on this day. So this being the day that I made the trade, which was on January 27th, let's circle in or come down. So the overall sentiment when you're looking at the stock is that we're in a downtrend, right? So this is where, you know, for a longer play, looking at it from here, this was the complete downtrend. Now, some people might have played it off a shorter range, and that's why you got this pop into the bigger trend. This might have been the lower trend here, maybe from here to here was the lower trend, and then it popped into this. But whatever the case may be, this was the overall trend of the stock. Now that you see it popped up and now it's coming back down, they wanted to continue the trend. So ultimately, this is what I was looking at first thing when I came in. Okay, we're in a trend down, but the overall market of the stock is bouncing to go back up. So to me, you always look at the higher time frame for the overall gist of which way the market is going. So because of that, I know that in the short term, I'm looking at a short-term trend, but in the long term, I know that the stock is trying to climb higher. All right, so this trade here started off right about here. So I got this pull up, right? So let me draw this out for you. This being, you know, strictly off the 5. This $14 area was critical. And that's kind of where I drew my line. Like right across there was the area of interest. Now let's break this down into intraday support and resistance. So the intraday support was right here. I'm going to paint that purple. Right there. So we go down to the 1 minute, and you can see it very clearly. Let me go back to the 15 so I can draw this line correctly. I actually like it better on the 5. I originally drew it out on the 5 as well. So this being my area or area of interest was right here. Yep, about right there. So let's go down to the 1 minute so it can be a little bit cleaner for you on how it looked. So when you go to the 1 minute, right here, it actually bounced. When it smacked this area into the 14 and then began to start holding, it actually started to make this little pick up here. So once it got over the area and over the zone, I entered in at 1401 with a risk to here. So my risk was about 30 cents, to be honest. I think it was about a 30 cent, because it was a 28 cent risk off of this candle here. So my risk was right here. So this was my risk area. Let's go here. That was my risk area. Let's see something here. So right there was my risk. Okay, cool. This was my risk. And then right there at 1401, right above this blue line was my entry. So initially we got this big push up to $1.17. I ended up taking some shares off. I took some off in the 90s, somewhere around here, because it just got really kind of choppy. And once it did this move and then come back and it actually pushed away, that's when I said, okay, let me take some shares off. So I got about 90 cent, 94 cent here. And then I end up holding the rest of the shares here. And as it started to bounce around, you can see that it actually set up. So the actual setup came a little bit later on as well, which gave you another opportunity to add into the position, which was here. So I end up playing it again. Once it pulled up, I end up taking another play right here at this price. Trying to make sure I get it exact right there. So right here, yeah, it was about 1471 is the fill. 1471 was about where I got in at right here off of that push. So when it got over that line again, right there is when I took my trade. And then obviously it wicked down to try to find some people trying to get them off of this risk. But again, I was already in, so my average price was somewhere down here, and then it continued on. So I ended up getting about $1.80 from my original entry. So I would say, yeah, I got about $1.80 right around here is where I started. My average price was on this to actually go, and then it actually started to pull back and break down. So again, guys, I'm always looking at the overall trend, looking at support and resistance. When I see an intraday support, so let me draw that out again just so you guys can know. The intraday support was here. So when I saw that intraday support, that gave me confidence to enter the trade here. Now, I wish I could have got it down a little bit lower, but ultimately, I wanted to play it around this area, this $14. Now, why is that? Well, if you guys remember, this is the area where it was basically using the support and resistance off the higher time frame. So yeah, I could have used it. I could have brought into the resistance, but it could have very well bounced away. So I like to see it kind of get over it and risk somewhere below it, because most cases it's not gonna, if it's a major resistance and it breaks above it and then holds, even if it comes back and retests, it may retest that area, but it tends to end up holding it and continuing on. And this is where you allow the trade to manifest. You know, you already assumed your risk. You already took profit. I took a little bit of profit there. I've already taken profit. So at that point, it's really just allowing the trade to manifest and look for opportunities to add. When I saw this coming along into the trade, into the break, I knew then that, hey, we have some support. We got some areas of interest where this stock can be supported. And that's when you place the trade. Now, looking at this from a higher standpoint, it really gives you a different indication. So another thing is always circling back out to the higher time frames, because those tend to help you understand as well, okay, this stock is going here. So now if you look at this and go back to the 30-minute, you can really see that this stock was still making higher lows after our first entry. So sometimes you can get wiggled out or whatever, and sometimes you just got to be a little bit more patient with the trade. That then would allow you to be able to really manifest a good trade for yourself and get in and out. So that's that first trade that I placed on AERC. Now, our real winner, I'm going to go back down to the daily so I kind of can show you this. The real winner was Evfm. With further investigation with the Roe versus Wade, this was a really good play, because this is a company that has a lot to do with Plan B and contraceptives stuff along that line. So this was your first area of interest, was right at $1. Okay, that was my first area of interest. Now everything else outside of that would be okay, and this was probably 125. Now, why did I choose this area? Again, it wicked, and then it pushed away from it back down to $1. So ultimately, when I'm looking at areas, I'm looking at what the stock did in that area on a higher time frame. So we had us a nice downtrend. This probably gonna get us back up to 240s, and that's that. So now mentally, I'm seeing these areas. Now I'm coming into that day, and let's go to the 5 minute. Now coming into that day, which was the 27th, you had this big ramp up in pre-market, and then you had this nice little pull down. Now what happened is that you had some traders that play off the 5 that probably bounced, saw this in pre-market, saw this little push up like this in pre-market, and probably thought this thing bounce and then it crushes below. What I like to do is to see the intraday hold. So when I see this, I'm gonna go back out to my 1 hour, and then I'm gonna see the trend. I'm gonna see it making the lower lows, lower highs. So I know that next hour, in this hour here, in the 10 o'clock hour, is probably gonna be where I want to place my trade. It's gonna probably be somewhere around there, more likely. So this is where time plays a part in making sure that the trade manifests where it needs to go. So right here is when it started to kind of etch out. We had a confirmation here coming into the new hour. So when I go back and look at the trade, I know that it's going to come into the new hour. Well, it's forming a new A. So it broke away from here, found some support here. It broke away, and then now we get this pullback. That's very interesting because it just created another A. So it broke out of this A, confirmed. So you got traders that unload in here, pulled back, didn't knock out the previous swing low, but it started to do something very cool, which is build some support. So this is where the support came in at, was right off of this area here, which was about 68.70 cents. So let's draw a line, entry day. So we're gonna make it purple, and we know that it was 70 cents. I'm sorry, it wasn't 70 cents. It was actually 68 cents. Sorry about that. So we got 68 cent support. Now what happened is that we see that it rejected here, bounced up, and then it started to pull down. And as it pulled down, you can actually see the curve happen right there. If you're paying attention to the price action, you would have saw the curve right there. So this was, and let's break this down for the people who don't understand the pattern. The pattern is very simple. This is A, this is B, which is the support. C is your curl, remember, going into the key area. So when I seen that it cracked over, this is about where I would have got in at. You just call it 71 cents. So you literally looking at a 3 cent risk. So from here down is 3 cents, 3-4 cents. Now, once we look at that, we can see that it started to structurally go back and forth, so on and so forth. This was another key area where people got in at when they actually got excited about it. So when you look at the 5 minute, it looks a lot cleaner. And this is where you playing it, and you got in here, you would have kept holding based on the higher lows. It never broke. Didn't break a higher low into $1. Well, most people took their price right there. Why? Because it hit and slammed it and pulled right back. And then the next 5 minutes is when it actually took off. So looking at the 1 minute, you can actually see soon as it hit that $1, it pulled back very quickly. Why? Because that's an intraday support. It's a longer time frame resistance, which is now acting as support when it pulled out of it. So that long-term resistance, those areas of interest, is where people are keying and eyeing it. So price found support here, and then it rallied back up. Now, where did that support come from? The support came from intraday. So when it bounced off of this area with all this volume, had to go up. News is there. Everybody's looking at it. I mean, this stock in itself traded 511 million shares in one day. And this stock doesn't have a large, float. The float's only 35 million. So you're literally talking about 511 divided by 35. You're talking about this stock rotated 14.6 million times. That's just too much volume for it not to go higher. I'm very impressed that this stock didn't continue to go higher. So afterwards, it broke and it went to intraday and ended up going up as high as 112. Let's say here, yeah, 110, 112. Then after hours, it went to 154. So today, to me, the way the stock priced and everything like that, I think it was institutions loading in. So coming into the day, the 28th, we had a red day, still a lot of volume. So this is definitely going to be on my radar and something to take a look at, simply because there's a lot of interest in this stock because of what it is and what they do. So I don't never not keep eyes off of stuff that's been running, because it means there's people still looking at it. They're just waiting for the first or the next day for it to pounce. So this is how I would have probably played Evfm. To all the traders that were in the Discord that actually took advantage of this stock, congrats to you guys. One of our lead traders, Trade King, actually shouted this out. I think he had an entry price of about 73, and he banked on it. Did very well. Still holding shares now. So, hey guys, so if you have any questions, concerns, leave them in the comment section. Click the like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm and get this information out to other traders who are seeking great information. Click the subscription button, subscribe, so you don't miss any of our videos, any of our video lesson series and whatnot. But like I tell all traders out there, new and old, stay steady and stay focused.